a lot of things to learn from Flo himself. So welcome, Flo, for today's program. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Now I would like to invite Dr. Fazal Talukdar, who is the president of the Institute Innovation Cell of NIT Silchar. He is of utmost importance to this institute and to the E-Cell. So if you would like to say something.
Yeah, good afternoon. Good afternoon, respected Professor Shivaji Bandapattar, Director, that means NIT Silchar, Mr. Flo, that means your Oberhaupt, a German, that means a social entrepreneur and resource persons for the today. My distinguished colleague, Dr. Yeah, my distinguished colleague, it means Dr. Wasim Arif, my other distinguished colleague, the student friends, the participants from the within NIT Silchar, as well as the from outside NIT Silchar. A big welcome to the Flo in this webinar, and hopefully we will share his knowledge with our budding entrepreneurs. Our students are also doing a lot of activities towards the local community, but they cannot always identify the same to be in terms of entrepreneurship. The social entrepreneurship has its different kind of challenges, and from the traditional entrepreneur. And we have the NGO which is being run by our students, which is called Jan Sagar. So I do hope that our students will try to
unmuted.
I'm sorry for the disturbance, sir, but I think you got muted. Fazal, sir, you're not audible. I can't unmute him. He has to unmute himself. Yes, sir. Now you're audible.
Yeah. So once the pandemic is over, and since Flo himself is now residing in that Mr. Shillong, which is just a distance of around 130 kilometers from our Mr. campus by road. So once the pandemic is over, we will surely invite him physically in our campus to have a interaction with our students, and he will get to know in whatever way our students are getting involved themselves with the local community. Of course, that is not from a perspective of a entrepreneur, rather that is just a community service. The most important thing is that from a community service, that we have to scale up to that of a social entrepreneur. So today's event will give an opportunity to our students and other participants of how you can leverage the social customs and other entrepreneurs. So I again welcome Mr. Flo in our campus, and hope his deliberation will benefit everybody. So over to Ranjita for remaining part of the event.
Thank you for your kind words, sir. As it is very evident, both our director and our faculties are very dedicated towards letting students develop and explore various fields. Sir has a teaching experience of over 30 years, and he has been of great importance to the Institute Innovation Cell as the president. He's always pushing his students to develop his skills and explore as much as possible. We would also like to thank Dr. Wasim Arif, who is here at the moment. And moving on, we would like to get on to the actual talk. So over to Agya.
So now introducing Mr. Flo, who is a social entrepreneur. He is a part of IIM Calcutta's Innovation Park.
Agya?
Yes, sir.
Unmute.
Yeah. Go ahead. Yeah.
Again, you got muted.
Oh, okay, sorry. So I was saying that Mr. Flo has established various startups, and we are really excited to hear from him. And there are a couple guidelines, although, before the webinar starts, that we would like everyone to adhere to. So over to Shruti.
These guidelines are not very strict, so you can just try your best to. The first thing is, everyone please stay muted to ensure a smooth flow of the webinar. Everyone who is on their phones, please ensure that you're muted throughout. Don't unmute yourself. And it's a request from the speaker to ensure as many people have their cameras on, so that this feels like an interactive session. So if it's possible, then I would request all of you to please switch on your cameras, but please ensure you stay muted. If you have any doubts, you can type them in the chat box, and if you wish to speak, then you could also mention that in the chat box and you will be called upon. Please do not unmute yourself, as it disrupts the flow of the event and it's very distracting to the speaker. So these are just few guidelines that we hope you adhere to. And over on to a speaker.
Okay. Thank you so much, professors. Thank you, everyone, for the warm welcome for today's session. I still remember fondly when we visited NIT first in March this year. So we had a good time there and really enjoyed interacting with your students, working on their products, prototypes, ideas, and it was different times. We were able to roam around without masks, but really enjoyed it, and of course looking forward to somewhat repeat this and to really engage with the students there as well. So I'm sending you my best regards from Shillong this time. As you can see, the weather here has also started to get really, really cold. So even during the day, we have to wear our sweaters. But yeah, everything is fine here. I hope over there everything is well too. Every one of you is healthy, doing well, not too impacted by this pandemic. And today's session, one more thing I would like to mention is sometimes we have a few internet issues here. So in case I might be not audible for a while, or I might drop out for 2-3 minutes, I kindly request you to excuse that. As I said, internet connection sometimes drops off or gets very slow, but I will be back as soon as possible. Okay, so let's start the session today. We have as a headline, transform ideas into prototypes, as a very, very rough headline. But whether you're working on a social enterprise or whether you're working on a more commercial enterprise, the basic structure to do that is the same. Let me start with that. So I want to give you an idea of this basic structure and give you some insights and hints on that. So let me start with my friend here. My friend, or let's say this can be even me. At one point in time, this was me. I have a brilliant idea. And I believe every one of you has been in this situation as well. I have a brilliant idea. It's going to be a unicorn. Brace yourself, Byju's. Brace yourself, Paytm. Brace yourself, Ola. I'm going to be a unicorn. But what to do next now? I have this idea, but there's so many ways, so many opportunities, so many roads I could go with this idea. So what should I do next? And then most of the people who have an idea come to this conclusion. Let me raise some money. Let me raise some money so I can execute my idea. This is the general conclusion everyone or most of the entrepreneurs who have an idea come to. This is the number one need. Let me raise some money. I need some money. Without money, I cannot execute anything. I'm bound. I'm in my cage. I'm limited. So I need a good amount of money. I need investors to really execute. I'm sure some of you have been in this situation. I have been in this situation multiple times. I had the same thought. But let me tell you, that's not the way to go. The idea, going straight to raising funds, is not really the way you should follow. As you can see, I give you 2 examples here. WeWork has raised $14 billion, $14 billion, but is on the brink of failing, had to considerably size down, had to fire a lot of people. Then the second example is this Kibi. Maybe you've heard of Kibi. So Kibi was like a venture in the very, very early stages. It was like an on-demand streaming platform for short movies, short films. They got a funding in their initial stages without much of traction, without, basically it was initially just an idea. They got $1.75 billion in funding. And 2 weeks ago, they shut down because it just did not work. So I think they returned, I don't know, 250 million to the investors, but they burned, I think they burned over 2 years around $1.5 billion. So money is not going to solve, or money is not going to bridge from idea to success automatically. So just keep that in mind. So what you should really do next, you need to have a structure and you need to have a strong foundation with some basics, which we will talk about, which I'll be talking about today. You need to have them sorted out to find the key to success. So what we'll do is, today I will introduce some methodologies that are proven and that have worked in the past multiple times. So there is specific methodologies, specific frameworks, specific models that you can follow that make your life, if you have an idea, much, much easy, and that can become the first stepstone to success, or at least to execution. Okay? So, and of course, for today as well, we'll spend some time, as much as we can, on your questions and ideas, but we'll get to that at a later point in time. So let me show you this, those startup development phases. We have, I'll not go into too much detail right now because I'll jump into more details while we go along. But you basically have a few phases, like the starting from the ideation phase, going towards making concepts, getting committed, validating what you are doing, scaling up what you are doing, and then eventually, you get, oh, sorry. My laptop is somewhat very slow right now. And then somewhat becoming more established as a startup. So, sorry, I'm just, okay, now I got it. So what we will be focusing on today is what I've marked here in red. So we will be focusing from the initial idea you are having towards building a type, which, or not a prototype, but a prototype, building a product that you can basically have as a foundation to scale up. So basically, how do we get, or how do we accomplish this initial phase to bridge from idea to having some kind of prototype or some kind of product that we can sell? And for that, we start with stage 1. Stage 1 is the problem solution fit. That is what you can see down here, just above, below this graph. We start with the problem solution fit. It's the stage 1. So what we don't want, I'll explain you in a while what's, like you'll get a hang of what specifically problem solution fit is. Let me start with one statement. And the first statement I want to make is, what we don't want is to build a solution in search of a problem. So when you have an idea, you usually have a solution in your mind, okay? And why am I having a little heart down here? Because that's a statement I get from many entrepreneurs I work with, specifically the idea stage entrepreneurs. I have this idea for a product, for a service. Is there any way that I can educate my customers so they need what I do? Just resonate with this statement. Is there any way I can educate my customers so they need what I do? Basically, you try to push some kind of solution, something that's going on in your head onto a potential customer. That is not what we want to do, right? We don't want to build a solution and then such a problem. That's not how it works usually. So I can give you some of those solutions, where some smart people sat and said, hey, I have a brilliant idea. Let's do it. Let's build it. And then we'll see what's going to happen. So you can see someone has built a diet water. I don't really know the sense for that. Then on the right-hand side, there was a trend a couple of years ago having those smart fridges. You can see why the XYZ does my fridge need Twitter. So this fridge has actually Twitter. So also someone thought, okay, brilliant idea, something that works on a smartphone, something that works on an iPad. Let's bring this on a fridge. People in the world want to see what kind of content does your fridge have. So again, a solution without any real need. As you can see today, you can barely find any of those smart fridges these days if you go to any Reliance electric store, whatever it is. I have some more for you. So you can see on the left-hand side a sign that says sidewalk ends in 20 feet. That's a solution to a need that's not there, because apparently we can see the sidewalk ends in 20 feet. Same on the right-hand side, someone thought, okay, let's print some golf balls with beautiful printing. But what is the need of a golf ball? You need to see it on a golf course, right? Having a camouflage golf ball, I don't know that is helping anyone. So again, someone thought, okay, brilliant idea. Camouflage is the trend of the day. Let's make this. But again, there was never really any problem, right? Because you can see the white ball in the grass. And then one of my favorites, the pet petter, Todd Lawson's pet petter. That is a brilliant solution for something that was never a problem. The pet petter, and I basically want to highlight what they have mentioned on the packaging. Never touch your pets again. So this is a device which pets your pets, but in the end, why do you have a pet? Because you want to pet it, right? So again, someone thought of a brilliant product, but in the end, it was not really a problem. And most of those products, they disappear faster than we can even think. And this is why we basically need to work on this problem solution fit. So what do we do in this problem solution fit? We identify an existing problem and we try to solve it with a solution that our customers or users find useful and satisfying. We also have to make a quick excursion here. What is the difference between customers and users? Very simple. Customers are the ones who pay you. Users are the ones who use your product. So can be the same often, but sometimes it's not the case. So let's say if you're offering pony riding services for children, your customers are the parents, but the users are actually the children who are riding the pony. So you somewhat need to find something, for both in the end. And what is the objective of this stage one? We want to gather evidence that a product or a service solves a specific customer's problem. Very, very simple. And what is the most important? Understand the problem well. And how does it potentially influence the customer user, and how is the customer and user perceiving this problem, him or herself? In the end, you need to get into the customer's heads, if you want it that way. You need to get a good understanding of the problem the customer is basically facing. Okay, so this is a very, very important point. not only now, but if you want to be a really successful entrepreneur, then you get the understanding, or you get an idea of what kind of problems the customers and users might be facing even in the future. And this, I tell you, is the basis for your entrepreneurial journey. If you have this not sorted out, if you do not understand the problem or the need of your customer, let's call it the problem of your customer. If you do not have this understanding, you're bound to fail. Because in the end, this is the basis for everything you do afterwards. Okay, so keep this in mind, make it the central starting point to understand the problems of your customers. And how can you do that? So again, there's many fancy models around this. I'm a little limited today, so I'll just give you a short introduction. So the fancier ways to that is design thinking. So design thinking design thinking spends a lot of time on understanding the problems, understanding the customers, understanding the users. So like design thinking runs through 6 steps or 6 stages. And as you can see, 3 of those stages are only concerned with understanding the customers, learning about them, spending a lot of time with them, observing them, analyzing, getting a deeper understanding. So from that, you can see it's of utmost importance, because actually design thinking is used by the largest corporates these days as a way to build new products or to modify existing products. So that should give you some kind of idea how important it is to understand the problem. But I don't want to, as I said, like I cannot and I don't want to go too much into design thinking now because no time, and there's actually also easier ways. Talk to people. Talk to people about the challenge. Talk to people about the problems. Get an understanding of the people. What is their challenges? What is their problems? It's a very simple task. And important, do not start with your solution. Again, do not try to force a solution on people where you say, hey, I have this and this idea. I have this and this. This is my potential product. Do you have this kind of problem? Or do you have this kind of challenge? So don't push them. Push your solution on them straight away. First, go the way where you try to understand the challenges and the problems. So ask them, what is your problem? What is your challenge in regard to XYZ? Accounting, energy generation, power fluctuations, power supply, mobile connectivity, whatever it is, medical supplies, whatever it is. Understand the problem well. And if you are like my friend here, my orange-haired friend, and you already had an idea, make the step back, okay? Go one step back and try again to find out if the problem you think is there, or the solution, or the problem you think is there, because apparently you build something where you think, okay, there's a problem, right? Or you want to build something where you think there's a problem. So go one step back and understand the problem that you think exists well. So do that. So nothing lost. Have your idea, but then go back one step and understand the problem well. And only then, once you have this good understanding, start talking about your solution. And here we have to understand some key differences. Okay, so we have to understand the key differences between a concept or a POC. POC is a proof of concept, and a prototype or a MVP. MVP is a minimum viable product. So a concept or a POC is basically something that takes not a lot of effort, that does not cost a lot, that is rather fast to build. And it helps you to display your solution on a high level. So usually it's nothing that really works. It's not a verbal product, but it helps you to display your concept, your solution on a higher level to different people. And the difference to a prototype is, or MVP is, MVP, you're creating something the users can actually use, or the customers can actually use. So we'll get to that in the next step, but this is the high level difference between a concept and a the concept and a prototype or MVP. So a concept or a proof of concept can be just talk, describe, show drawings, show wireframes of what you want to do a role play, displaying the person that has a problem, sharing the same statements you got from the actual, customers or potential users you're having. And, then somewhat integrate your solution into this role play. And then you can pitch this to different people. You can also do mock brochures. You can do videos displaying your solutions. I can tell you, for example, Dropbox raised their first millions after they did nothing else than a video of what they want to do. Of course, these were other times. Money was very easily available for such solutions, but just giving you solutions, how you can basically pitch or display your concepts or your proof of concepts. It can also be some write-up, some project description, more detailed project description. So there's different, very, very simple ways to show your concept and display your concept. On the left-hand side, you see more or less like a typical wireframing process, manual wireframing process of website creation. So this is something that does not take a lot of time, a lot of effort, and you can easily change it, you can easily adapt it. And here, just to give an idea, again, I don't want to go in too deep into this. You see the evolution of, when we talk about proof of concept, prototype, MVP, where are they located along the development process? So you start with a POC, low effort, low cost, high level. Then you move on to a prototype. Prototype still is more like a simulation, does not have to really work. But it's more advanced than a proof of concept. And then you have an MVP, the minimum viable product, which is the basis before you go into the production, which is like the full finalized product that you get out there. And to be honest, I was thinking whether I add this slide or not, because I don't really like it. Because, for example, specifically the difference between MVP and prototype, it's very fluid. So take this with a pinch of salt. Don't make this the ultimate wisdom. It should just give you an idea, of what are we more or less talking about. Okay. So again, I don't want to spend too much time onto this, but just to give you an idea to sort things in your head. And then I would actually like to use one example from my friends at NIT Silchar, specifically talking about Team RT Farm. Team RT Farm has developed a monitoring solution for farms, which basically allows some bot, an agri-bot, which you can see on the bottom of this picture, to do the irrigation, to do, to bring out pesticides, to bring out some kind of fertilizers and so on, based on the data they get from the field. So why am I showing you this? First of all, I was very fascinated with what those guys did in only a few hours of time. So that was quite amazing. At the same time, I wanted to basically show you this is a typical proof of concept / prototype. So this is somewhere in between proof of concept and prototype. It's quite elaborate. It's working to a large extent, but it's in a miniature form. So it is somewhere in between. The customers cannot really use it. Of course, as you can see, nobody has like such a small land where they can use it, but they get a good idea of what this is. So this is like, I would call it a very, very advanced proof of concept. Okay, so I just wanted to show you this to get you an idea. Then we'll jump on to what is part of this problem solution fit? So in this problem solution fit, you need to align 3 main planets. The first planet is you need to have a valuable customer segment. So you need to have customers that actually want your solution, that have the problem, of course. Then you need to have, and those customers or those customers need to be able to pay you for what you are making. So that is very, very important. So it needs to be a valuable customer segment. At the same time, you need to hit the underserved needs of those customers and users, right? If this is not there, if there's no need, if there's no real problem, why would they buy a product? Just to put it on a shelf? I don't think so. Or to, have to be subscribed to something they don't use? It's not the case. So you need to really make sure you hit those underserved needs of the customers and users. And of course, you need to have a winning value proposition. And I'll get to that in a second. But I'll just give you one sentence or a template that always is very good to see or to describe what you're doing and figure out if it's really hitting this red area, all those 3 planets overlap. So a good template would be, we help, who do we help? Achieve what kind of benefit, does your product or your solution generate for this group of people or for this individual by doing something special, a special and unique way your new business or product is doing it. So if you use this template, you'll get a good idea of whether you are hitting the red spot in this problem solution fit. So what is the value proposition or the unique selling point or the what is the unique value proposition? What is the unique selling point? What is the unique what is the general value proposition? So it is a feature or the perceived benefit of a good which makes it unique from the rest of the competing brands. So what makes you special? What takes you apart from the existing competition in the same field? So many will say, I don't have any competition. The product or idea I'm developing is unique. Nobody else has it. I don't believe that. Usually this world has solutions to many, many problems, and there's a high probability that you are not the first one to find a specific problem. And there will be solution. In 90% of the cases, there will be other solutions out in the market. So you need to find those solutions, even if your own solution is different to what your competition is completely different to what your competition is offering. Maybe it's solving a problem in a different way. You still have the competition. So still those people are selling to the same people, solving their same needs, solving their same problems than you want to do. So make sure you have this understanding of your competition and make sure to figure out what is unique about what you're doing. It is basically the reason which motivates a buyer to purchase your product, even though it might be or it might not be costlier than the other products. So that is very, very important. So find this unique selling point for you. And one recommendation out of my personal experience, don't try to find 10 USPs. It's difficult enough to find one USP. Like you might find 10 USPs that are very, very weak. Rather pick one USP that is extremely strong and spend a good amount of time on finding this unique selling proposition with which you can use to go out in the world and say, hey, this is what we have. This is nothing our competitors have. This is only something we have. And this will be also helping you in the long term to protect what you're doing. If you have something very, very special, something you are specifically good in, your product is specifically good in, it will help you a lot in the future. Also protect what you're doing and be ahead of the competition. So just some numbers, okay? So you basically, how should you do this problem solution fit? So you should, very practical now, you should have at least 12 potential customers saying they must have a solution for the problem you're trying to solve. Very important. Get at least this amount of people saying, I have this problem and I want a solution for it, okay? And then at least another 12 customers saying they must have your solution for that, okay? So that is very, very important, your solution. Just finding people, they say, I have a problem, or I have this specific problem that you have identified will not help you. You need to find people that say, I need your specific solution. And then it would be good, and it will be really helpful for the next stages if you find 5 early adopters that say, you have now described your product, we know your concept, we've seen a video, we've seen your role play, we've seen your brochure. We are very interested. So once you're ready with some kind of product or something we can test, let's do that. We want to. So get 5 of those early adopters, because believe me, if you have these people, that will help you a lot down the line in the next stages. So one thing I would recommend you, again, I'm a big fan of those methodologies, those techniques and everything. So you can Google for something called problem solution fit canvas. I'll not go too far into it, but this helps you a lot finding this problem solution fit in the end. Okay, so basically you can list a few things, and it helps you structure, like the problem root cause, the problems and the pains, how often do they happen, what is the behavior of the customer, what is the triggers, what is the emotions the customer is feeling, and slowly with getting a better and better understanding, you get to your solution. So this is stage 1. Problem solution fit. Now I want to head on something that is actually quite important, but actually very, very important, but people usually do not talk about it. So usually you only hear about problem solution fit, product market fit, but you don't hear about vision founders fit. As you would know, all right, keep it there. As you would know, one of the major reasons why startups fail is, first of all, of course, they don't have a market that is there. But then also the team is not functioning, the team is not going in the same direction. And this is super, super crucial. You have to have a fit between the vision of what you want to do and everyone on board of your venture. So basically, this vision founders fit is an agreement where the co-founders commit to a specific vision and they agree to be in the project long term. Again, very, very important. I work with a lot of entrepreneurs, and many entrepreneurs come to me saying, hey, we have 5 people in our team, but only 2, me and a partner, are working full-time. The rest is sometimes dropping in, sometimes showing interest. If there's some kind of other job they can do, then they're more focused on this. So it's very, very difficult. Actually, just now, around 1 hour ago, I had such a conversation where the entrepreneur said, it's very difficult. They're very lazy, my co-founders. It's very, very challenging. So you need to have this kind of fit. You need to achieve this kind of fit as well. You need to define your mission. You need to define your vision well, okay? And then you need to set first key milestones for the next 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, 2 years, 5 years, just to have a rough outline where you want to go. Does not have to be super specific, does not have to be super detailed. It's just an outline, okay? That is very, very important. So, like you guys are all on the same line, everyone is agreeing where should we go. And then ownership is another topic. Actually, this is a big headache because sometimes you just slide into starting something and then, of course, 90% of the time it will fail, but the 10% of the time it's working or it's starting to kick off. If you have not clarified the ownership of your startup or your entity beforehand, this breaks a lot of founder teams, okay? So please clarify who is supposed to own how much of your startup based on how much time invested, if there's any money component. Have this clarity before, and it saves you a lot of headache. It's an extremely uncomfortable topic. I know that, but have it clarified, please. Okay. So then ensuring a complementary skill set of the founders. Of course, you cannot only have a team of developers building a startup from scratch. That doesn't work. At the same time, you cannot only have a team of commerce people building a startup. In this, very few cases this will actually work. So you need to have complementary skill sets to achieve what you want to achieve. Okay. And the good thing is, if you have this vision founder fit sorted out, it will help you a lot in attracting outsiders and supporters. Because if people see, hey, those guys are going in the same direction, those guys are passionate about what they're doing, they have an understanding where they want to be in 12 months time, in 5 years time, what kind of impact they want to create, it's become some kind of self-fulfilling prophecy. So basically, it will help you attract outsiders, supporters, and founders because they see those guys are passionate and they really know what they are doing and they have sorted their stuff out. So I'll skip this for now. Have this vision founders fit sorted out. Okay. Then the next step and the last step for today is the product market fit. And this is where it gets exciting because this is where it gets really, really challenging. So what is the product market fit? The product market fit is the degree to which a product and value proposition satisfies a strong market demand. So now this topic of market comes in. You have identified a problem, you've verified a problem, you've identified a solution for it. But how can you be successful? You can only be successful if people pay for it. So you need to find this fit between market, like what kind of customers, what kind of users, what is the customer group, what is the customer segment, what is the market in terms of country, in terms of regionality, in terms of individuals, in terms of industries, different markets, no? So you have to find your market, you have to fit that with your product, and at the same time, you have to find a price that people are willing to pay. And no matter what you do, be it in the social sector, be it in hardcore capitalistic startup, you have to have this kind of fit. Nobody will come and tell you, hey, I unfortunately have to tell you this out of experience. Nobody will tell you, come and tell you, hey, we are just buying from you because you're a social entrepreneur. We don't care about the price. Just give us any price. We'll give you a signed check. You just enter the number. Not going to happen. If you're a social entrepreneur, you have to have this sorted out as well. It's very, very important. You have to have this kind of fit. Only yesterday I had a conversation which was specifically about this. Whenever it comes down to the hard numbers, to the money, having some social impact is important, and having a good social story to tell and a good social background is important. And it will help you market your product, and it will maybe have a small influence on the price. And of course, people will pay more for organic, people will pay more if you have a good branding. But in the end, you still have to figure out this fit. What is the price people are willing to pay? So how do I get there? How do I get to this point where I can find my product market fit? And I want to recommend you one specific methodology. It's the Lean Startup methodology. It's out of a book called Lean Startup. It's like I don't know, maybe a 10-year book or so by Eric Ries. And in this book, he describes a methodology that is as simple as it is brilliant. So it has 3 components, that is build, measure, learn, and then do the circle again until you have a perfect product or a marketable product. So build, turn your ideas into products. Build a MVP, minimum viable product. So I'll get to that in a second, give you a little bit better description of what it is. Build this MVP, give it to people, And then with that, we're going back to what I suggested in the initial phase. That's why you need to have those early adopters. Those are the people who test your product, who use it, to put it into action. Measure, see how the market responds, get feedback from the market, get feedback from those early adopters, see what they want to change, see what they would like to improve, then learn from that and change it or preserve your strategy. So depending on this feedback, if it's good feedback, of course you preserve, we go the same way. If change is necessary, you implement the change, and then you do this circle again until the feedback you get from those respondents is near perfect. You'll never get perfect feedback. You cannot expect that. If you want to go to a point where it's perfect, you'll probably miss the train. But it should be, overwhelmingly good feedback that allows you to take the next step to go to the market. And what is this minimum viable product? So I love this, this description actually. So you have this pyramid of functionality, reliability, usability, and brilliant design. What's wrong to do is don't only have functionality, instead have some components of all the 4 blocks of this pyramid, okay, in a minimum viable product. And what is this minimum viable product? It's a version of a product with just enough features to be usable by early customers who can then basically, again, provide you feedback for the future product development. So make it a very, very basic product, just enough, again, just enough to be usable by those early adopters that have agreed. So, and then keep, please, to these pyramids, because these pyramids will really help you. Don't only make it functional, but also make it a little bit sexy, make it, of course, usable. The UX, UI should be good. Of course, not perfect, but should be good. Reliability, of course, it needs to be reliable. If you build something that breaks down after 1 day, how will your users test? So you need to have all those 4 building blocks in your minimum viable product, which you then, again, use to give it to early adopters or testers, whatever you want to call them, to try it out. Here, also a nice example what a minimum viable product should look like, respectively not look like. So don't give tires if you want to build a car in the long term to testers or early adopters. What will they do with the tires? Instead, give them a skateboard, then some kind of small scooter, then a bike, then a motorbike, and then let it be the final product, the car. Of course, that's, just a simplified explanation, but, again, this displays. It should be somewhat usable by the customers, right? You cannot just give them a tire and then expect they, ride on top of these tires. So build something they can use, they like to use, they like to test, that's reliable, and that has, to a certain extent, also good looks. And I give you some example before I think we're anyhow quite advanced in our time, before we head on to the Q&A session and to the discussion part of the session. Basically, there are few supporting methods on how to build a minimum viable product. So one of it is a mechanical Turk or Wizard of Oz. So what is this? Basically, you pretend that some of the features you want to have in your product are already included. So let's say if you have some kind of algorithm, if you have some kind of AI, it does not necessarily have to be in your product, but you can more or less pretend it's already there. You can claim it is already there, but in reality, you're somewhat managing from the back end, still yourself. That is what we call a mechanical Turk or a Wizard of Oz. So this is very similar to my last point, fake it. Sometimes as an entrepreneur, you have to fake specific things, like specific functionalities. You have to, you tell, okay, they're automated at the same time, they're not automated yet. Or you come up with web pages that already declare your product to be fully functional at the same time. It's not, then you have to do still a lot from the back end, right? So that is no, in no way it is, morally wrong, because you're still delivering, right? as the important thing is you can still deliver what you promise. If you can do that, it's ethically not wrong to fake it. And believe me, this fake it till you make it is the #1 credo in the startup ecosystem these days. Many startups do that, and sometimes it is required. I've done it myself a couple of times. It's necessary, unfortunately. Other supporting methods, how you can build MVPs, for example, clickable wireframes. So just make a model of your, again, this is somewhat fake it, right? Because it's not really working, but you can make a clickable wireframe of your app or of the product you want to build. 3D mockups, another example of a methodology that development has allowed to do us. So that is something fantastic. If you have more a haptic product, you can do 3D mockups with a 3D printer and show it to the people, give it to the people to use. And then, of course, this is just an overview. You have so many different methods for the different industries. If you're in software and online, leverage open source, leverage if there's any existing building blocks that you can make use of. Again, like if you're in software and online, building an MVP is actually the easiest, because in the end, you can fake it, you can leverage open source, you can leverage what's already there to a certain extent, you can use wireframes. So many methodologies that allow you to build an MVP for your customers that you can give them to use and to give you feedback. If it's more a haptic or physical product, it gets more challenging. So this is where 3D printing has put a big ease on many people who work with haptic or physical products. So again, haptical, physical products, keep it easy, don't overdo it, but at the same time, don't make it too simple. It should be usable, should be user-friendly and reliable. Then service-based MVP. This, again, is rather simple. So you can just offer your services to some people, limited to a specific area. For example, if you start a food delivery service online, limited to a certain area, or service-based is always easy because you can start and just give the service to a few people and get their feedback. And then food, FMCG, and consumables, give the people some testers. Give people testers of food, of some soaps you have developed, or some sweets you have worked on. So for example, my fiance, she has just started her own food delivery business here in Meghalaya. And the first thing we did is we gave testers of the food to 20 people. And that helped a lot. That helped a lot getting feedback, what to improve. Not only in terms of the taste of the food, everything. Delivery of the food, is it warm when it gets there? Is the packaging sufficient? Are the condiments spilled? Are the condiments spicy enough? Is the message that comes across with the food, is it good? All these kind of things. So MVP in food, FMCG, and consumables is also usually quite easy to do. Okay, so these are the different methods for different industries. And then I go back to this point because this is of the utmost importance, and this is the main slide that should burn in your face, in your brains. Build, measure, learn. Build, measure, learn. Build, measure, learn. Until your product is ready to go to the market. And here, when is it ready to go to the market? That's another topic. But for build, measure, learn, to find this product market fit, you need to find at least one feature with 5 early adopters for which they are saying we will pay for it. Okay, so this is the target of today's session for this product market fit. Find 5 early adopters. They say they are ready to pay for it. Ideally, they maybe already pay you for your minimum viable product. That is the ideal target. Then a few more hints before we really wrap it up on this product market fit. This is out of my personal learning, and I can confirm this again and again. Always, 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 always validate your learnings. So if someone tells you in this learning stage or in this measuring stage, I have this and this kind of feedback about your product. Let's say the food you're making is too spicy. Always validate this. Talk to other people that test your product and validate what someone gives you as a feedback, because you cannot rely on an individual person's feedback. Always get the bigger picture and get an understanding of the bigger picture. So always validate. Otherwise, you're bound to fail if you don't validate. If possible, and this is something I would highly recommend, charge money for letting people use your prototype or MVP, because this is the best thing you can do if they, if they are already wanting to pay for your prototype or your MVP. This is the best validation you can get. And maybe one going back to this one addition I can make, you can break this circle once people say, okay, now we want to pay for it. Now we are willing to pay for it. And then usually it's a good time to think about, okay, should we break the circle? Does it make sense? Or should we go on maybe 1 or 2 more rounds to get to the next step? Of course, it is fine in a trial period not to charge any money. It's also fine to create some traction first, to not charge any money. Let's say you give your food for free for testing, and just in exchange, people should tag you in their posts they put on Instagram and Facebook. That is fine. But again, I think the value of having early adopters pay for your product, it cannot be stressed enough. So try to make them charge for using your product. Specifically, I mean, initially, maybe you can give a small trial period for free, but then if they're interested to continue using it, then you talk to them, say, hey, you've tested it now for 1 month. Apparently you like using it. We would be charging from now onwards. Does not have to be full price, can be specifically, you can tell them, hey, since you have helped us so much, since you have supported us, we'll give you 50%, 75% discount for a year before we switch to the normal plan. So you can do that. Also very important, build credibility. Build credibility, get references. That helps you a lot with other customers to convince them. You can tell them, hey, Department of Agriculture is already using our product. They're already testing it. Please test it as well. Get this credibility, get it in pictures, get it in stories, get it in videos. You cannot, again, stress enough how important building credibility and references is. And then my last point for today, before we really finish it off, tell your story. Tell people, why have you started this? If it's a problem that concerns yourself very specifically, tell people why. Tell people why, okay? I'll skip this. There is some next steps. You need to do the pricing, customer segmenting. I'll just recommend you Google something and learn something about a methodology called Lean Canvas. That will help you once you have reached your product market fit to go to the next steps. Okay, so I think we are well in time. We still have a little, I think 15, 20 minutes to take some questions, ideas, that you guys would like to share. Let's just take 1 or 2 minutes. If there's any questions, you guys can type them in the chat. If you want to share an idea, you can also type it in the chat. Then I will ask you to unmute, so that can be done. And I think our organizers today have also hinted if there's some kind of interest in a follow-up session, we might be also able to do that in the next weeks. So, but for now, let's take 15 more minutes. Let's take some questions, and then I think we're good to go. Okay. Rajesh had a question. Is there any particular way to approach brands or investors for startup collaboration? Good question, Rajesh. There is, again, use your MVP. Use your MVP and your references most of all. Approach the people who are already testing your product, who are somewhat, maybe fully, maybe not completely, but somewhat satisfied with what you're doing, and ask them for further references. So many of them will have brands. Many of them will have, will have investors as connections. So that is one way. The other way is leverage social media. Okay, so you can always tag brands. You can always tag investors. That is one way. What I am doing and what works quite well for me is I contact people via LinkedIn. So again, making use of social media, making use of the digital tools to just approach those people. But do not start, I tell you very frankly, do not start approaching brands or investors for any kind of collaboration if you have not sorted out the 3 stages we have talked about today. Because those people are very experienced. If it's investors, they know startups inside out. If it's a brand, they know business inside out. Do not approach them with just an idea. That will never work. I tell you, I've not come across a single instance where a brand, where someone pitched the idea to a brand and they say, hey, yeah, awesome, let's do this. Have something ready to show to them. Ideally, an MVP or a proof of concept. Okay, I hope that question was answered, Rajesh. Then let's see. Swaraj has the question, after prototype development, what would be an efficient roadmap to get into the market? Swaraj, we don't have the time for that today. We'll have to take another 2 hours to cover this part. So maybe that can be done at another time. What are the best, also from Swaraj, what are the best ways to minimize and tackle resource requirements and prototype development? Again, I think all the things I've introduced to you today will not cost you a bomb. Okay, so that is one point. 3D printing will not cost you a bomb. You don't have to buy a 3D printer. There's so many services out there. That basically offer 3D printing as a service now, or you'll find so many open source, so many building blocks online if it's more like an online-based service you want to build. You don't have to have big money. If you need money, there's always ways. As far as I know, some startup is having some kind of small funds available. Maybe even NIT Silchar will have some kind of small funds available if you're really not able at all. And if that all is not helping, then I can only recommend you ask family and friends. Don't tell them I need lakhs and lakhs, but if it's, like maybe, I don't know, 5,000 rupees, 6,000 rupees, then somewhat family and friends usually are a good source for that. And you don't have to say you have to give it to me as a present. Instead, tell them I'll give it back to you, once this works. Then, so Ankit wanted to share his idea, but I think now he does not want to. So, then let's take Prajesh one more time. Why will an investor or brand manager accept a connection on LinkedIn? Good question. Because ideally, already in the LinkedIn connection, or like when you send out the connection request, you can give like 240 signs or something. Tell them specifically what you want. Going back to this initial template I gave you. In one sentence, you tell them what you do, and then you share a link with them to a YouTube video, to a brochure, anything, to some kind of POC that makes them interested. So whatever you send to them, the number one thing you need to make sure of, they need to be interested in it. It should trigger their interest. Ideally, videos usually work quite well in combination with a description of what you're doing, or what are you working on. Will tagging on social media help? I cannot give you an answer to that, quite frankly. Probably 95% of cases it will not work. But if you're willing to go this to you basically put out this effort for the 5%, try it. Okay, I think we answered all the questions that were there. I'll just hand it back to.
Gaurav.
Thank you for the amazing session, Mr. Flo. I'm sure all of our students had a lot of doubts that were answered today. We
Yeah.
will definitely hope for a follow-up session, because I'm pretty sure after analyzing all this information, we would like to come up with more doubts and actually discuss things with you. For now, I would like to move over to the thank you note, and I would like to invite Gaurav Harlalka Bhaiya on behalf of ECEL to give the vote of thanks.
Hello everyone. First of all, I'd like to congratulate Flo sir for such a wonderful session. I'm hopeful that from all the knowledge that you have just provided us, many budding entrepreneurs of our college will be able to convert their startup ideas into a reality. I'd like to thank, on behalf of ECEL and NIT Silchar, our director Shivaji Bandyopadhyay sir, for always supporting entrepreneurship activities in our college. I'd also like to thank Faisal sir and Institute Innovation Center for making the idea of this event a reality. I'd also like to thank Assam Startup for always supporting us in such entrepreneurial activities. Next, I would like to thank Arif sir, a faculty advisor of ECEL and NIT Silchar, for being so supportive. He has personally supervised each and every part of this event so that we face no problems in organizing it. Thanks Shriti and Agya for hosting this event wonderfully, and thank you each and every member of ECEL for being a part of this event and making it a successful one. We'll be organizing similar events in the coming days, so I hope that all of you follow the Facebook and LinkedIn page of ECEL and NIT Silchar so that you guys can be updated about the event. Thank you so much. Shriti, you can take over.
Thank you, Bhaiya, and thank you everyone for joining. It was a great experience for all of us at ECEL to organize this event, and thank you all for ensuring that it ran very smoothly. We would
Also, Shriti, I'd like Arif sir to speak a few words. He has been
yes, sir.
Yeah, I
Arif sir
mean, you
has-
already have proposed the formal vote of thanks. I also would like to mention Dr. Naresh Babu for helping us in hosting this event in our official YouTube channel. Thank you. And hi, Flo. I hope you can remember me, as we have had a very good time during the hackathon we have organized. Yes, it was a very my pleasure to meet you again. And we are very much optimistic in this area and we need your help, because we all believe that individuals at this point of time, individuals cannot grow. We need to create network, we need to create team, and having you on our team is something which our students will really be benefited. We are looking forward to your suggestions, your guidance in these activities. And since you are working on agricultural sector, maybe in the next event we'll be exploring some of the agricultural aspects of prototype development and this kind of thing. On behalf of IIC Institute Innovation Cell, thank you very much, Flo, and we are looking forward for our next events as well. And thank you all the participants. Gaurav, you have done a very good job. Shriti, Agga, thank you for your wonderful coordination of the event. Yeah, that's it from me. Over to Agya or Shruti.
Thank you, sir. This has honestly been a great
Shruti,
experience.
before you take over, of course, I cannot stop without telling you what kind of entrepreneur would I be if I would not ask you guys for the same feedback. So I'm also consider this session a lean startup session. It would be nice to have your feedback on this session, so I can know, okay, what is the market saying? You are my market at this point in time, so I can also learn and I can also improve what I'm doing. So sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to add this as a last point.
Right.
No, sir,
Yeah,
definitely
we
not.
will.
We'll definitely get in touch with you. This is a learning opportunity for us as well to have someone who is as experienced in the field as you. We will hope from all the participants that you come to us with your questions. You can contact any of your ECEL seniors. You can even just write a message to our Facebook page. We will get in touch with you because our aim is to help as many people as we can, and this was just a first step in that direction. And if you have any doubts or any follow-up questions regarding the session, you can get in touch with us, and we will definitely get in touch with Mr. Flo and hope we can organize a lot of similar sessions and just grow and hopefully actually develop an idea into a prototype. So I guess we can conclude the session right now if that is okay by the faculties.
Yes.
Okay, thank you all for joining. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Gaurav Bhaiya, for organizing this session. And thank you to us, amazing speaker, and to all the participants who stayed.
Yeah. Thank you so much.